Welcome, everybody, to the Slogan of Logan podcast. It's been a nice short while. How are y'all doing? It's your host, Logan here, and today we're going to talk about a conspiracy theory. And, of course, whether or not it actually is a conspiracy theory, or if there's any sort of legitimate evidence to back it up. A murdered DNC staffer, Wikileaks connection. So that's what we're going to talk about. So without further ado, let's get started. So the report, murdered DNC staffer, passed off documents to WikiLeaks, and I found this from the libertarianrepublic.com. Other sources for this specific story comes from Fox News, of course, WikiLeaks, and Fox 5 Local News, which is a local DC news station, if I am correct. So just a quick recap of WikiLeaks, and the sources will be linked. Starting on Friday, 22nd July 2016 at 10:30 a.m., WikiLeaks released over two publications, 44,053 emails, and 17,761 emails. No, I cannot talk. I screwed up just starting out. So over 44,000 emails were released and 17,000 attachments from the top U.S. Democratic National Committee. Part 1 of our new Hillary Leaks series. The leaks come from the accounts of 7 key figures in DNC. Communications Director Louis Miranda, which includes 10,520 emails. National Finance Director Jordan Kaplan, so 3,799 emails. Finance Chief of Staff Scott Comer, 3,095 emails. Finance Director of Data and Strategic Initiatives Daniel Parrish, 1,742 emails. Finance Director Alan Zachary, 1,611 emails. Senior Advisor Andrew Wright, 938 emails. In Northern California, Finance Director Robert Eric Stowe, 751 emails. The emails cover the period from January last year until 25th of May this year. And that is the recap lifted straight from WikiLeaks on the emails dump. So if you want to go ahead and look at those, you want to go through the emails, you can, but that's where the emails came from. It was a huge scandal as far as right-wingers go. For some reason, left-wingers just brushed it right under the rug. And yes, the right wing is guilty of brushing things under the rug too. Neither side is perfect. They both have hypocrites. Democratic National Committee staffer Seth Rich sent DNC emails to WikiLeaks before he was murdered in Washington, D.C. last July, according to an unnamed federal investigator who talked to Fox News. I have seen and read the emails between Seth Rich and WikiLeaks. The investigator told Fox News. The investigator reviewed an FBI forensic report on the contents of Rich's computer, which was generated within a few days of his murder. So instantly, right off the bat, you see Fox News. And I will read something from the left-wing perspective, trying to debunk this report. And I'm not saying that this report is real. Obviously, I don't know. I'm not the private investigator. I'm not the spokesperson for the family, supposedly. We'll go over that later. And I'm not Fox News, so, I don't know if any of these sources are real. I don't know. I have no doubt that the WikiLeaks dump was real. It didn't really seem that they could really deny it, and it was confirmed that the emails were unaltered. So, take with that what you will. But so when I read the left-wing source trying to debunk this report, they will mention that some of the people who pushed this story or talked about it or suggested that this DNC staffer was killed after releasing emails to WikiLeaks. They're like, oh, well, the PI investigator that's saying this has been a contributor to Fox News since 2002. And then somebody else he associates with has been a contributor to Breitbart. So they'll try to, hang you on that. they don't even recognize that they have their own bias. You know what I mean? Like, oh, they're a contributor to Fox News and Breitbart, but you can trust us, BuzzFeed. I mean, come on, seriously? Anyway, so to continue, the investigators said Rich transferred 44,053 emails sent between DNC leaders to WikiLeaks through its director, Gavin McFadden, including 17,761 attachments. The leaked emails were from January 2015 through May 2016. Rich turned them over before May 21st, 2016. The numbers in the investigator gave Fox matched those publicly available on the WikiLeaks website. So we need to acknowledge the fact that this information was available to the public. The number of emails. So it's easy for somebody to take that information and then say accurately how many emails were dumped. So just because they know that the exact numbers that of the emails that were leaked, or or the attachments that were leaked, doesn't mean it's legit, because it was publicly available. So I admit that, and I'm not, like I said, I guess my bias is right wing, libertarian. I support WikiLeaks. So as long as Julian Assange isn't biased and releases anything corrupt, whether it be governments or corporations, or links between government and corporations, that's fine. That is 100% fine by me. An unnamed assailant shot Rich 12 days after WikiLeaks published internal party emails that revealed that DNC leadership colluded with members of the campaign to elect a Democratic candidate, Hillary Clinton, to ensure she clinched the nomination. The published emails led DNC chairwoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz to resign and then end up working for the Clinton agenda anyway. The Clinton campaign, I believe. Is that what happened? I think that's what happened. So far, I mean, listen, I guess you could be going out on a limb here. This is really just coming from one guy. But, you know, a DNC staffer was shot 12 days after leaks. And, you know, I could be reaching for the bottom of the barrel. Or this article, the person who wrote it, or the PI investigator that we're going to talk about, who is suggesting this theory, could be reaching for the bottom of the barrel, or saw a correlation that doesn't exist, because as we all know, correlation does not equal causation. But undoubtedly, somebody leaked the information, or the information was hacked, and it showed a massive amount of corruption in the DNC. Collusions with the Hillary campaign and media, the superdelegates, and how she was basically picked. The fact that they handpicked Donald Trump to run against them. Just a lot of real, massive corruption in what they want to call a democracy. They want to twist democracy into an oligarchy of the Democratic Party. And I'm somebody who 100% despises democracy, because democracy is just a majority ruling over a minority. You can have an oligarchy where a small group of people control everything about your life. You can have a monarchy where one person, or a dictatorship where one person controls every aspect of your life. Or you can have democracy where the majority controls your life. It sounds like a great time. The federal investigator's information corroborates what a private investigator hired by Rich's family, Rod Wheeler, has said previously. Wheeler, a former D.C. police homicide detective, is running a parallel investigation into Rich's death. He has said Rich communicated with WikiLeaks before his death and believes someone in the federal government, or Hillary Clinton, is holding up the investigation's progress. Now, that is an extraordinary claim, and to me requires extraordinary evidence. Of course, I mean, we do need to see some hard facts as far as I'm concerned. So far, it's just coming from one private investigator. From what I've seen, I mean, we still need the proof, which is why I'm not taking a side one way or the other, and which is why I'm going to read the opposition article, just to be fair. I do believe that the answers to who murdered Seth Rich sit on his computer on a shelf at the DC police or FBI headquarters. Wheeler told Fox News, adding, "My investigation shows someone within the D.C. government, Democratic National Committee, or Clinton team is blocking the murder investigation from going forward. That is unfortunate. Seth Rich's murder is unsolved as a result of that." You see what I mean? Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and I have to apply it to this. As far as I mean, they didn't say anything. He hasn't provided any hard facts yet. He's saying, "My investigation shows someone within the D.C. government, Democratic National Committee, or Clinton team is blocking the murder investigation." Yeah, you know what I mean? You get it, right? But at the same time, it wouldn't surprise me. It is a little suspicious that a DNC staffer was killed 12 days after the Wikileaks dumps. I mean, that could be anything. Correlation does not equal causation. There's all sorts of coincidences that happen all the time. A D.C. police spokeswoman told Fox 5 Wheeler's assertion that the police department is holding up the case is false. The FBI declined to comment on the story, but internal sources told Fox that the Bureau did examine Rich's personal computer. So this is what BuzzFeed tries to say. They try to make... what am I trying to say? They try to pinpoint that Fox doesn't give away their sources. Their internal sources told Fox that the Bureau did examine Rich's personal computer, which BuzzFeed will do the exact same thing. Both articles are well written, just you can tell there's a bias. Of course, it could go either way. Could be that this PI is a loony, or that the PI is onto something. Police have not released private security footage that showed the street corner where Rich is believed to have been when he was shot. An unnamed source told Fox that the video shows two people following Rich and then shows the victim falling after he was shot. Also unusual is the fact that the D.C. Police Department didn't release the full case details to the family. According to the report, the police normally allow members of victims' family to see the full details of the case unless members of the family are suspects in the case. So that's where you can start really fueling the fire to conspiracy theories, or it's an obvious breadcrumb to an actual conspiracy. So at this point, when you understand that no security footage was released showing where Rich was believed to have been, and BuzzFeed doesn't even touch on this. In their article, they attack the PI. That's what they do. And then they have a quote-unquote spokesperson speaking on behalf of the family. Now, I'm pretty sure, I think the BuzzFeed article is titled something... It alludes to the fact, or it alludes to the family denying what the PI said, but there's no actual quote from the family. The only quote from the family is a quote from a spokesperson, which we'll talk about later, and why that's a little suspicious, and why both sides are just... They don't have a solid case either direction, although it is a little suspicious. Why wouldn't they release the video? It's evidence. Unless the case is closed. I need to look that up because I might sound like an idiot trying to say, now why didn't they release the video in an ongoing investigation? So this is a picture of Rod Wheeler. He's a former DC homicide detective. So obviously his credentials are pretty good. As I was saying before, though, one thing that really fuels the conspiracy theory fire is the fact that there was no footage released. Entire details weren't given to the family. But if the investigation isn't over, then in a way that makes sense. But that is fuel for a conspiracy theory, or an obvious breadcrumb to a conspiracy. So, yes, this is Rod Wheeler, African-American male, contributor to Fox News, former DC homicide detective. So let's go to the left-wing take on the report. The title, Meet the Private Detective Who Ignited a Clinton Conspiracy Theory. These are the same people that talk about Donald Trump-Russian collusions, by the way. I just want to get that over. Just, make that obvious. It does come from BuzzFeed. The source is right there. If you'd like to type it in, I will probably link it into the description box below. So you can go ahead and read it for yourself. But I will read most of it for you. The story poured fresh fuel on a long simmering wild conspiracy theory for which there is no evidence that the Clintons had the staffer, Seth Rich, murdered for leaking DNC emails to Julian Assange's organization. It was based on an interview with a single source, a private investigator named Rod Wheeler, who the article said had been hired by the Rich family to investigate the crime. So, let's go on and meet the man who fueled the conspiracy theory about the Clinton murder or the DNC murder of Seth Rich. Let's meet the man. You can already tell it's going to be a straight-up character assassination. Tuesday morning, though, the Rich family rejected the report and told BuzzFeed News through a spokesman that Wheeler had been paid for by a third party and was contractually barred from speaking to press without permission from the family. Wheeler then told CNN that he didn't personally have evidence of Rich contacting WikiLeaks at all. So who is Rod Wheeler? What do we know about him? And what is his relationship to the Riches? So let me just say, key here, a keyword or a key phrase. And listen, they have a point. There really isn't any evidence. It is just from this private investigator that we're getting this conspiracy breadcrumbs from. These conspiracy breadcrumbs from. It is one person. Just one person. Has been through a spokesperson. A spokesperson is talking for the family. And they will not identify who the spokesperson is. But don't worry, we will get into that. We will talk about who this spokesperson is. There is no actual quote. Another key here is barred from speaking to the press without permission from the family. So why was this private investigator speaking to the press if he didn't have permission from the family? You think he would have colluded with the family? I don't know. The article doesn't describe that, I don't believe. So yeah, you can tell it's going to go into a straight-up character assassination. Who is Rod Wheeler? What do we know about him? And what is his relationship to the Riches? More like, how is he a right-wing loony who is a bigot? That's what I'm expecting. Wheeler is a former homicide detective for the DC Metropolitan Police Department, who, per his LinkedIn, has been a contributor to Fox News since 2002. Ding, 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 ding. Told you. And it was through his television appearance that he was ultimately put in contact with the Rich family through a fellow Fox News contributor named Ed Budowski. Ding, 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 Fox contributor. You just gotta make sure. That's really important. You just have to make sure that that's there. You gotta let your BuzzFeed readers know that these people are in cahoots with Fox News. Turn off that Fox News. Quit watching Fox News, you racist. Although I just want to point out, do you ever notice that the people who criticize Fox News, like, oh, stop watching Fox News, turn off Fox News, or turn off Fox News, oh my God, you know, watch real news, read real news, and then when it's convenient for them, they're like, oh no, mainstream media, man, it's racist. It depends on who they're blaming, depending on the story. Who they blame depends on their agenda or what issue. Sometimes it's just Fox News. You've been watching too much Fox News. Sometimes it's mainstream media is really corrupt. And yeah, sure, right-wingers do this too. CNN is so corrupt. You know, I get it. But for the most part, at least conservatives are somewhat consistent. And they're like, yeah, no, mainstream media fucking sucks. And a lot of conservatives even admit, yeah, Fox News really sucks. So, I just wanted to point that out. But of course, they're going to just hammer on the nail. Fox News. Fox News. They're both contributors to Fox News. So far, it seems that Wheeler does sort of have the credentials to make such an extraordinary claim, or seems like a reliable person because he was a homicide detective. But just because you're skilled, it doesn't mean you're not a loony. So I will admit that. Butowski, a prominent wealth manager from Dallas and a contributor to Breitbart News who attended President Trump's inauguration, told BuzzFeed News that he reached out to the Rich family after hearing about the Clinton-Rich conspiracy theory from a friend. They said they didn't feel they were getting any answers. Butowski said, "The investigation wasn't going anywhere. I said, why don't you hire a private detective? They said they didn't have any money." So just because the private detective was hired through a third party, it somehow means that the family doesn't believe what the private investigator says. And just to make this clear, the only source that they have speaking on behalf of the family, the right-wingers are saying that this private investigator is speaking on behalf of the family and was hired through the family. Left-wingers are saying that a specific individual spokesperson is speaking on behalf of the family. And what difference does it make if he was hired by a third party? But obviously, a wealthy person, okay, I will acknowledge this, a wealthy person can probably buy opinions. You can pay somebody to spew a conspiracy theory if you really want to. Or you can say, hey, PI, I will pay you if you find me clues or just find me any sort of connection to confirm this conspiracy. There's no proof either way. There's just a suspicious dead DNC staffer 12 days after the Wikileaks dump, which could be anything. It could be just a coincidence. I acknowledge that. And then the fact that the police haven't told the family every single detail and haven't released the footage of where Seth Rich, in an area he was expected to be. Of course, it could be because it's an ongoing investigation and, they don't want to notify or make any suspects aware that they're onto them or that they have a clue of where they're at or a clue of who it might be. That's a possibility, and I can admit that. But BuzzFeed is saying, essentially, you can imply it. They're not, coming out and saying it right off the bat. But they're basically alluding to the possibility, or they're alluding to the opinion that just because it was hired through a third party, this PI was hired through a third party, that it's illegitimate. The family agreed and accepted this because they felt like they weren't getting the full story. So, BuzzFeed, at least you included that quote. Butowski said he offered to pay for a private investigator and called Wheeler. There, he said, his own involvement ended. They negotiated something, Butowski said. In their contract, it said, any money Rod is going to bill, Butowski is going to pay. But Rod Wheeler has never billed me a penny. Nobody has ever paid anybody anything. Take with that what you will. I don't really have anything to say about that, so let's move on. Beyond his own involvement in the Rich case, Wheeler is mostly known for saying outrageous things on air. In 2007, in reference to a controversy over racial profiling and policing, Wheeler pulled his eyes back on air to demonstrate what a Chinese male looks like. And in the same year, on the Bill O'Reilly show, Wheeler said that a national underground network of armed lesbians were raping girls. Wow. So, fuck. Okay. Obviously, it sounds a little loony that there's a national underground network of armed lesbians raping girls. Maybe it's true. I don't know. I haven't heard of it. Doesn't mean it's not true. It does seem a little loony. And I pulled back his eyes on air to demonstrate what a Chinese male looks like. He's not wrong. He's not wrong. He is factual about what a Chinese male looks like. It's funny that a black man is mimicking a Chinese person. Because if he was white, oh gosh, the outrage of that would be amazing. It's funny thinking about. So, character assassination, he seems a little loony. However, it's funny that BuzzFeed is not laughing, but they're saying that it's outrageous that you said an underground network of armed lesbians raping girls, but the patriarchy is real. There's a secret, super double secret patriarchy meeting every year where men get together and talk about how they're going to oppress women. BuzzFeed, come on, dude. Your bias is just so amazingly obvious. How are you oblivious to that? Patriarchy, the gender wage gap, racism, systematic racism. Seriously, BuzzFeed, come on, you're so unaware. But I will acknowledge that BuzzFeed has a point. The guy seems a little loony. Just because he's a DC homicide detective doesn't mean that he has all of his marbles or that he is somehow superior to average citizens who aren't in law enforcement or who aren't the best detectives. So I get what they're saying with that. But at the same time, on the flip side, just because you pull your eyes back on TV insensitively describing what a Chinese male looks like, it doesn't mean that, well, you're wrong. I'm sure Albert Einstein did some horrendous shit, said some racist shit, or just did some real embarrassing, outrageous stuff, but you would still consider him one of the smartest men to ever live in human history. And sure, say that there's a national underground network of armed lesbians raping girls might be a little unhinged, but who here hasn't believed in something that was completely false? We all have. Like, you swallow 7 spiders a year in your sleep. Gum doesn't digest, or it stays in your belly for 7 odd years. I mean, there's small things, there's big things, there's conspiracies. How many people do you know believe that 9/11 was an inside job? How many people do you know that believe that the moon landing was a hoax? How many people do you think, or how many people do you know think that GMO is bad for you? How many people do you think that, you know, I could just go through an entire list. Vaccines cause autism. Or you can go Alex Jones and say that they're putting chemicals in the water that are turning the frickin' frogs gay. Which actually, as crazy as it sounds, there was chemicals being leaked in water that was making the amphibians change sex. Sounds, I mean, Alex Jones, he's weird. He either just says some straight up weird ass conspiracy theories, or he says something that's accurate, but he adds like that Alex Jones twist. There was chemicals in the water that was changing the sex of the amphibians, of the frogs. They're putting chemicals in the water that are turning the freaking frogs gay. You know, he makes it fun. You know, on some things, Alex Jones is woke as fuck. On other things, he's a loony. In addition to his private detective business, Capital Investigations, Wheeler is also, according to his LinkedIn, the CEO and founder of the Global Food Defense Institute. Food defense, per the website of the FDA, focuses on the risk of criminal or terrorist actions on the food supply. So, they don't really say anything about that. They try to say that, I don't know, it just seems with the way they quote it, the risk of criminal or terrorist actions on the food supply. They seem like that's so bizarre. Or so unusual. I have lived in Portland, Oregon before. And I've always said that, yeah, you know, if in a terrorist attack, Portland could probably be a target. And like, no, man, you know, they would attack, you know, political cities with a high population of political entities and whatnot, you know? And I'm like, yeah, but Portland's a port. You take out Portland, you take out Seattle, you've effectively just annihilated the Pacific Northwest. And what's the Pacific Northwest? The Pacific Northwest is heavily agricultural and it generates a lot of seafood and lumber. People, they try to say, oh, terrorists just want to destroy your way of life. Yeah, but through which means? Political? Infrastructure? Pentagon and the White House were political, I guess, and the World Trade Center was economical. They tried attacking you politically. They tried destroying your political infrastructure, your continuity of government on 9/11, and they tried, well, taking out the Pentagon, you know, defense and intelligence gathering as well, and they took out the World Trade Center. Of course, this is assuming that's not an inside job. Some of you conspiracy cucks out there. That was an economic hit. A lot of rich people, a lot of wealth going through that building. And, of course, a cultural hit. Why wouldn't they attack agriculture? That feeds America. They act like it's so bizarre for someone to think that a terrorist would attack the food supply. Like, why? That's part of your infrastructure. Your people die if they starve. Is it likely or effective? I don't know. You know, that's whatever. Just like for some reason terrorists thought that flying a building into the World Trade Center would be effective. No, it just pissed us off. Over a decade later, here we are, still in the Middle East, under 3 presidencies. And if you look at Somalia, the Horn of Africa, and our involvement of it, we were trying to hunt Mohammed Farah Aidid, who was a warlord, which gained power. He was essentially a terrorist, kind of like a Mexican drug cartel, but more of a Mexican food cartel. Basically, different factions were fighting in Somalia, trying to take over the government. It was just chaos there. Still is chaos there. Yeah, it was chaos there as it's ever changed. So Mohammed Farah Aidid would steal UN food shipments and basically use that to gain power. Now, that's not terrorism attacking the food supply, but it is a terrorist action on the fucking food supply, and it worked to his advantage. Alright, let's move on. BuzzFeed went on... So, here's things to know. BuzzFeed went on a character assassination and a ties assassination, and what I mean by ties assassination is, oh, he was a contributor to Fox News and so was his associate. And they said somebody else was an associate to Breitbart. I don't know if I read that. I don't think I read that. I think I might end up reading that later. I don't remember. And they went on a character assassination saying he said crazy shit. Has been a these are direct quotes. Has been a contributor to Fox News since 2002. A contributor to Breitbart News, and who attended President Trump's inauguration. I did read it. In 2007, in a reference to a controversy over racial profiling and policing, Wheeler pulled his eyes back on air to demonstrate what a Chinese male looks like, and in the same year, on the Bill O'Reilly Show, said that a national underground network of armed lesbians were raping girls. Seriously. So, character assassination. Let's move on. Wheeler had been paid for by a third party and was contractually barred from speaking to the press without permission from the family. So BuzzFeed tried to say that just because he was hired through a third party, it somehow means that his story is invalid. Or another thing that I think we should note, there's 2 things from this one statement that I think we should know. Barred from speaking to press without permission from the family. So that leads me to believe that the family give him permission to speak on Fox News. BuzzFeed article says that the family denied it from a spokesperson. And by the way, the spokesperson linked to his LinkedIn account, and of course you have a link to the article, and then the next article I'm going to read. The spokesperson for the family, Brad Bauman, was part of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, Office of Congresswoman Mary Jo Kilroy, and a public relations consultant. He is in the DNC. So BuzzFeed's saying that the PI making this conspiracy claim is tied with Fox News and Breitbart. Therefore, it's not accurate. But the spokesperson on behalf of the family, according to us, not who the right-wingers say is the spokesperson, works for the DNC, and that's completely legit. So if you have to pick one. Pick one. Is the PI investigator invalid because he has ties with Fox News? Or is Brad invalid because he is defending the DNC, speaking for the family on behalf of the DNC? And a public relations consultant, which says on his LinkedIn profile, which is basically PR. Press relations, okay? So, we need to acknowledge that there's a little hypocrisy there. Another thing to know, nowhere in BuzzFeed's article do they actually have quotes from the family, and I will link the article. And there's the link to the other article, that I was originally talking about, they have no direct quotes from the family. The only quotes that they have comes from Brad, the DNC PR consultant. So I just want you to know. I just want you to note that. Just realize that there's no actual quote from the family. So far, what we have is right-wingers are claiming that the PI speaks on behalf of the family. We also have that BuzzFeed left-wing, the left-wingers are saying that this DNC spokesperson is speaking on behalf of the family. So we have two different sides of the story. So, again, let's acknowledge, and nowhere in BuzzFeed's article do they actually have quotes from the family. Also, the local news channel has consistently reported on the connection between the family and private investigators, saying that he is directly related to the private, or that the private investigator is directly related to the family. But of course, this comes from Fox 5 DC, a Fox News affiliate. Okay, you know, I haven't read that, but I can see that happening. Fox 5 DC is a local news channel. They have the ability to fact-check their stories to a greater ability than BuzzFeed. International news organizations, by the way, who get stories from local news, don't have the luxury of fact-checking as well as local news organizations do. I have met a few guys from my Fox 12, from my local area's Fox affiliate, Fox 12. I've met some guys from Coin News 6, who I think is a CBS affiliate or is an ABC affiliate. And then we have K2 News. I've met a few of them. Those three that I named are Fox affiliate, obviously Fox 12. As for the other two, I don't know, but I know it's ABC. Is it ABC? I think it's ABC and CNN or CBS. They're affiliates. And I've met them personally. They're able to fact check a lot better. So, things to note, things that we should really acknowledge, things that I just want to say before wrapping this up. There's no solid proof on either side that it's true or false. Of course, the PI investigator is the one who is making the extraordinary claim that there's a conspiracy here. He has a conspiracy theory about a conspiracy, and he's making the claim. And he doesn't have a massive amount of evidence. So yeah, you can say that the burden of proof shouldn't be on BuzzFeed. But when BuzzFeed attempts to debunk an article without using facts itself, or using the same methods that the PI investigator is using, or that the right-wingers are using the PI investigator as, or right-wing sources take the side of PI investigator speaking on behalf of the family. Left-wingers take a DNC staffer, PR consultant, as a spokesperson for the family of who the right-wingers are alleging was killed by DNC. You know what I mean? So do you see where that kind of gets murky, where we start getting to murky waters? And then to really fuel the conspiracy, police weren't sharing all the details with the family. The video of Seth Rich in a location where he was before being murdered wasn't shared. But of course, it's still an ongoing investigation as far as I know. So that's definitely a possibility. So there's no evidence either way, or solid evidence. There is a few suspicions. Oh yeah, then I should acknowledge that this DNC staffer was killed just 12 days after the Wikileaks dump. So I think we need to acknowledge that neither side is speaking with any hard evidence. They're both doing a little of their the other side can't be trusted, but we can be trusted. I thought this story was interesting from both sides, which is why I wanted to share it with you. Sorry for this long ass video and me stuttering and going on tangents. I hope you enjoyed it. Peace out. Have a good one.